HighBridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents What to Do About the Solomons by Bethany Ball. Read by Kirsten Potter. Chapter 1. Guy Gever stands in the field. Now it is just a question of what to do with Guy Gever. For extra money, he works in the evenings to frighten the birds that eat the crops in the fields around the kibbutz. At night, he hunts the porcupines, the dorban, and sometimes the tiny kippod, the hedgehogs, with his brothers. But now, people think he has gone mad. Before harvesting season begins, Guy Gever drives his pickup truck into the middle of the wheat. In the center of the field, he arranges the sticks and branches he pulls from the back of the pickup. He arranges and rearranges them until the sun comes up. He spreads birdseed all around. The birds come from the Kinneret to the north and the Dead Sea to the south. They fly over Americans and Africans in white robes baptizing themselves in the Jordan. They come from Syria and Lebanon, but not the West Bank or Gaza, where there are no birds. Guy Gever stands in the middle of the field and counts and names each bird as they come. A helicopter flies overhead and bathes them in a shower of pesticide. Someone calls the police. He can see them coming over the highway. He hops into his truck and drives off. For a few days, no one knows where he's gone. Later that week, a group of kibbutzniks sees him stacking cypress branches off the side of the highway on their way to Hamat Gader, the hot springs. "Come on, Guy, come with us," they shout. "Leave the bush in the ground and the sticks on the trees and take a rest." "I have had enough leisure," Guy Gever says. He climbs into the back of the pickup truck and salutes them. "Now, I must work." Guy Gever's father-in-law, Marc Solomon, runs his hands through his still black hair and nods. He strokes his sideburns. The parliament of old men, the Sabrayim, sit around a barbecue pit with a bottle of whiskey and discuss Guy Gever. They pass the bottle and pour drabs into dusty tea glasses. Yakov sets his on the ground, wedging it into the dirt. He crosses his arms high across his narrow chest. "Yes," Yakov says, "this is true. Guy Gever has had enough leisure time. I should know. I bought his cars, financed renovations on houses I paid for, and covered all medical costs for Guy Gever's son. When my children want money, they come to me. When their children need money, they come to me." The men nod. They defer to him, Marc Solomon, the most powerful man in the Jordan River Valley. "I paid for their bar mitzvahs, their educations, and their therapists. I've paid for 6 weddings, 5 divorces, the funeral of one daughter-in-law's father, and countless birthday celebrations. Now I must pay for Guy Gever's madness?" The men nod and grunt and drink to Marc Solomon. Guy Gever hears about the parliament from his younger brother Itai, who heard it from Alon, who is the son of Yaakov's middle brother, Ishka. Guy Gever squats down to the ground and spits. He draws a woman in the dirt with his finger. He stands up and shouts, "That man! For 10 years I've been Marc Solomon's slave. Why doesn't he die already?" "And leave everything to you?" says Itai, who is lo gamur, not finished, funny in the head. "That would be something." Marc Solomon and his wife, Vivian, drive from the kibbutz to Jerusalem to meet their children. Vivian tells her husband, "We must keep this very quiet, for Karen's sake, and for the children. We mustn't tell anyone. Guy will never find a job again. Who does he think he is, an artist? Phoot! He has gone mad. We must hire a private doctor. Send him to America, perhaps. Eliza tells me in America they have more mental hospitals than regular ones." Yakov listens to his wife with increasing irritation. He presses his foot hard on the accelerator. He goes too fast, but he is nearly 75 years old, and anyway, he is going to die eventually. Better to do so in a blaze of concrete, steel, and light. "I'm done with Guy Gever and the rest of them. I should have cut them off years ago. The jobs, the connections, the money. Offer them a finger, and they want the whole hand. Yakov, Vivian says, you were the one who said, keep the seeds in your pocket and give it to the birds one by one. Yes, keep the birds close so they don't fly away. Spit flies from his mouth. But now, they can go fuck themselves. Maya, on the airplane flying back from Amsterdam, is unaware of Guy Gever and his troubles. If someone mentioned his name to her, she would hardly be able to summon a face. If she thought hard enough, she might remember a tall, slight boy with light, straight hair parted across his forehead, strategically arranged to draw attention away from his long, thin nose. Then again, she might get him confused with someone else, soft, slow Kobi Benjamin, for instance. She may or may not remember that Guy Gever married the sister of her first love, Marc Solomon. Even if she knew, Maya no longer cares about who has gone crazy on the kibbutz. But she doesn't know. Her mother stopped telling her anything years ago. I am on my way home, Maya thinks, and she feels dread in her chest. At dinner in a newly opened Jerusalem restaurant with his son Dror and daughter Shira, Marc Solomon rails against Guy Gever. I always knew he was trouble. What will I do now? What can be done? I can't even grow old and die in peace. Dror asks, what do you mean, what will you do? It's not for you to do anything. Let them sort it out on their own. It will all fall on me. I will have to support Karen and the children and God knows who else. Dror says, why? They are grown-ups. Guy Gever is a grown man. Ah, cries Yakov. He yanks on a bit of hair. You don't know what I've done for that man. What are you saying? Dror shouts. I know what you've done for him. Dror's sister, Shira, puts her head in her hands. Dror says, I come to the kibbutz once a month and you only ever sit with Guy Gever. You completely ignored us all these years. You elevated Guy to a god. You could never see his faults. We saw them. Only you and Karen were blind to Guy Gever. He's been crazy for years. Yakov grows cold. He sits with his arms crossed high over his chest and pulls on his mustache. Children play in the courtyard around the restaurant. A dog barks, and another distant dog answers. Dror's wife leans toward Dror and murmurs words no one at the table can hear. I cannot imagine, Yakov says, at your age, to be so jealous. Such a childish emotion is jealousy. They sit in silence. Dror smiles at his father. You are an irascible old son of a bitch. But Yakov is no longer listening. He nods and stares out at the street lamps. One blinks on and off. Yakov strokes the whiskers on his chin. The coarse hairs soothe his fingers. Yes, it's true, he thinks. Of all my 3 sons, it was Guy I loved the best, the one who was not my son, the only one I could talk to. Now it has all gone to shit. The next day, Yakov and Vivian share a late breakfast with Shira. She is the 4th child, the baby, until Marc came along. At Cafe Mizrachi, near the shuk, Yakov and Shira eat their omelets and salad and hatch a plan. Watching Shira, Vivian chortles to herself. They are made for each other, Shira and Yakov. He's sired the perfect mate for himself. Vivian sits silently. If she spoke, it wouldn't make any difference. As the Solomon matriarch, almost no one talks to her anymore. Only Guy Gever ever thanked her for the Friday meals she makes. What a joke it is. The 2 least stable in her family, Yakov and Shira, deciding the fate of a man who has lost all reason. If only Ziv were here, the oldest, or Marc, the youngest. Of all her children, Ziv is the most rational and the kindest. Let us not talk of Ziv, Vivian thinks to herself. Living with another man in Singapore. Vivian prays daily. She once prayed for sanity and peace, but now she prays that Guy Gever will give up his ridiculous artistic pretensions and go back to work. Vivian prays that everyone will grow to be as wise as she is. She touches her hair and thinks of having it hennaed. Guy Gever drives his truck all the way to Tzfat in the north to see a specialist. Karen sits beside him. The hospital is modern cement and crumbling. "It is my family that is crazy, Professor," he says very quietly, very controlled, to the inscrutable doctor with the stone face. The doctor nods and scribbles his notes. When they return to the kibbutz, Karen tells her mother what the doctor had said. He is enjoying himself. He enjoys doing whatever he likes. Later, on the telephone, Vivian tells Shira Guy Gever has always enjoyed doing whatever he likes. Who has been raising the children? Who cooked every Friday dinner? Who did Karen come crying to when Guy was out gallivanting with that Russian's wife? Who supported him through school? "Yes," Dror says 3 days later, sitting in a restaurant outside Tiberias with his parents and Shira. "And who paid all the bills?" "And yours, too," Vivian says. Dror opens his mouth and then shuts it again. Vivian and Yakov say nothing. Everyone sits very still on the patio outside the restaurant. The Kinneret is quiet. Seagulls fly over a container of fries someone has left on the small stones of the beach. The lights of Tiberias glow in the distance behind them. The Kinneret, the biblical Sea of Galilee, is gentle on the shore. In years of drought, the sea recedes and leaves a vast beach. This is a year of drought. Vivian squares her shoulders and sits up tall. Her hair is a beacon of the brightest red. "None of you children have ever really supported yourselves. We are always here. We are your safety net." Except for Marc, she thinks, her favorite son in New York, and Ziv. Vivian thinks of Ziv and winces. Ziv was the most beautiful and intelligent of the children, the first-born son, the perfect combination of Yakov and Vivian, and then... "What is it, Ima?" Shira asks. "Ria," Vivian says. "Nothing of any matter." The fields are shorn. They burn in the terrible late spring sun. Guy Gever has spent a week laying pulled-up shrubs along the median in the center of the road that leads to Beit Shean. Yakov calls Marc in America. He says, "Come back to the kibbutz. Go sit with Guy. Talk to him." "Abba," says Marc, "Guy never liked me. We don't know each other that well. By the time Karen married him, I was already in the army. Have Ziv come from Singapore. He is the oldest. He was always the peacekeeper," Marc says. "I am busy with the move to Los Angeles." "Never mind," Yakov says. Marc hangs up the phone. Guy is of another type altogether, Marc thinks, sitting in his New York office. Guy and his brothers running around the fields all summer long, shooting wild porcupine, a Gever specialty, skinning them and then roasting them on spits. During Shavuot, the harvesting festival, when the children would go out at night into the wheat fields alone, Guy Gever and his friends would impale the heads of slaughtered cows on stakes. Marc stumbled over one when he was 10, and the image of it, with its filmed-over eyes and terrible mouth hanging open, still greets him in the night. Those menacing fields of the Shavuot holidays, those Gevers, they are the joke of the kibbutzniks. In the army, Marc was a commando, and Guy Gever, a what? A thug in Gaza. Guy Gever drives up to his house in his pickup. He has just returned from the valley where he has been digging up the small ancient trees. "No, Doctor," Guy says to himself, "the bushes don't talk to me. I don't hear voices. I am not Moses. I am not Yeshua. There is no burning bush. The soil and roots and trees guide me where to place them. They vibrate in a particular way. The art of placement is divine. Like the Kotel is divine, like Stonehenge, like Petra. He stacks the branches around the house he shares with Karen. He piles the cypress as high as the windows. Karen lies in bed with a migraine. She hears the rumble of the truck, and the joy she felt for the last 12 years of marriage is replaced with dread. The sleeping medicine she took gives her strange dreams. Bandormin, it's called. She imagines that Guy has walled her in. She hears sounds outside. She sits up in bed and reaches over to push aside the curtain, but sees only her reflection in the dark glass. Her eyes refocus, and she sees cut cypress branches pressed against the other side of the window. Karen gasps and claws at the glass. "Karen," she hears. She turns from the window to the door of her bedroom, and Guy's face, his strange, feral face, hovers over her. Karen screams. Guy gently takes hold of Karen's hands and pulls her up to sitting. "Oh, Karen," he says, "don't you love me any more?" She melts a little and relents to his hands. He hasn't spoken to her so gently since her 30th birthday, when they'd gone to the Zimmer with the hot tubs and king-size beds and decided that they would try for another baby. Their youngest child is already 7 years old. Wouldn't she like another? He holds her hands and leads her past their living room to the outside patio. She starts to speak, but he puts 2 fingers over her lips and kisses her. The moon is so high it looks electric. It illuminates the cypress trees that stand guard in the kibbutz and in the fields beyond. Karen in her nightgown. It billows around her ankles. The hammock swings on the porch. They stand together on the front patio. It is a perfect, dry Jordan Valley night. Karen's sister, Shira, takes a bus back to Jerusalem. Avi Strauss, the handsome, fat producer of the comedy news program Humish, waits for her outside the bus station. He leans back against his black chauffeured SUV. He's left his cane inside the car. He wants to appear virile. Shira is touched. They drive into the heart of Jerusalem, into the old city, and the restaurants in the Christian quarter. The driver parks beside an old establishment restaurant. Inside there are sheiks and wizened ex-prime ministers. Shira has gone there many times with her father. The last time she was there with Avi, they saw Ariel Sharon there, that old walrus, and Avi had hissed at him. Sharon had laughed and sent over cognac. Now, seated at the table, Avi Strauss looks at her, cups her face in his hand. He is almost 70 years old. Shira is 25. Shira is in love. She feels like a very young girl, like a teenager before the army. "Young women," Avi says, "get the best of old men. We are our most charming, trying to impress them." In his apartment in the Russian compound neighborhood, he is very full and farting. He looks at her apologetically. She would like to have a child. She will try and get pregnant. He would marry her, if not for his wife and their 4 children. Alas, he cannot perform. Tonight is not the night she will conceive. Flooded with sympathy, she pats his hand as they lie beside one another in his bed. Tomorrow night, I will make up for it," he says. She knows he will. His large, bloated belly is like a third person in the bed. He goes down on her. He tells her, "I won't inflict Viagra on you." 2 years earlier, at a film premiere at the Ambassadors Club, he had seduced her by saying he would make a television show for her to star in. He knows people in America. She fell for him, though she knows now the show will never be made. A year from now, he will finish a movie that will win at Cannes. Shira will have a small role for which she will be paid handsomely, more even than the lead actress. He will break up with her, take his wife and nearly grown children across the world, and die in the bed of an underage stripper somewhere in the San Fernando Valley. Guy Gever and Karen make love in the hammock. They hunker down low into one another, putting all their weight into the fabric at the center of the hammock so it doesn't pitch them out. The frequently beaten 8-year-old, who lives next door and is up all hours of the night, watches from his window. Guy wonders if the 8-year-old is his son. Did he ever fuck his mother? No, but he wanted to. Guy would like to adopt the child and take him to Petra in Jordan, where the red rocks are. He had been to Jordan once, on a secret military mission for which he'd been the driver. A relief after all those months in the territories, and the red cliffs have haunted him ever since. Dawn comes, and Guy and Karen wake up entwined and stiff in the hammock. Morning dew and sweat have made them damp. Guy agrees to go again to a doctor. He shakes his head. "But I'm not crazy," he says. "I am an artist. Must everything be work and war and commerce?" This time the doctor's office is located in a Druze village. This way no one in the kibbutz will know. The neighbors will not know. The doctor is supposed to be very good. He is revered by the Christian and Druze communities. Guy Gever and Karen drive together through the hills and up the lonely canyon roads. The building is low and modern on the outskirts of the village. The doctor reads from a standard questionnaire. "Do you think you are the Messiah? Do you hear voices?" "What number question is that?" Guy asks the doctor. The doctor has blue eyes and is named Yosef. 16, the doctor says. Guy Gever watches the doctor's fingers slide across the paper as he makes his little notes. 16 is a crucial number, Guy thinks. In every pile from this point forward, there will be 16 branches of eucalyptus tree. Maya has come back to the kibbutz from Amsterdam after finding neither fame nor fortune. What a relief it had been to live among the peaceful Europeans. So much better than the unrepentant kibbutzniks who watch the rockets fall into Beit Shean but take no responsibility. In Amsterdam, there was hash, and there was pain, and then a solid march to opiates, and on the cycle went. She was beautiful and talented still. Everyone in the kibbutz had thought she would one day be famous. She might even have gone to America, where her father has lived since he was a child. Her father, whom she has not heard from in 10 years or more. But America was the only place anyone went and made anything of themselves. Even the Russians she teaches in her government ulpan job confide in her that they are only in Israel as a way to get to America. She might have gone too, if not for the ease of her Dutch passport. The passport as token prize of Holocaust survivor relatives notwithstanding, the Dutch did hate their foreigners. Her dreadlocked hair dyed platinum blonde with dark black roots, her black eyes and tiny, straight figure, slim and boyish. Passport or no, she would never really be Dutch. At midnight, she leaves her mother's house with her iPod. She plugs the earbuds deep into her ears and blasts the music she used to listen to back in Amsterdam. Here in the kibbutz, she cannot paint. She has no room to paint, no canvas to paint on, no paint with which to paint. Maya walks through the kibbutz, past the children's house where she slept from age 3 months to 13, past the volunteer house, past the block of apartments where she moved after the children's house. All the houses and apartments are private now. The children's houses now occupied by Ethiopians airlifted to Israel in the early 90s. She pulls down a ripe peach and eats it neatly. She throws the pit into the bushes and climbs the fence that surrounds the pool. She drags a cement block used in winter to hold the plastic pool cover in place. Maya fusses around with clothing and bits of rope that she ties tightly around her leg. She checks her knots. Then she turns off the iPod and sets it down on the grass. Let the last song played, The German punk song Selbstmord Schlampe Hühnchen be her notification. The air is so dry it singes the inside of her mouth. She launches herself into the pool. The rope slices tight into her ankle. A strong swimmer, she thrashes about. The cement block settles on the pool floor without dragging her under. The rope is too long, and the pool is too shallow. Bad luck. Maya's bad luck. What will we do about Maya? She dives down to untie the knot, but the water is too dark, too cold. The knot is too strong. She comes up, cold and tired and furious with herself. Kobi Benjamin, walking along the road and smoking a joint, sees that someone is in the pool. He climbs the fence quickly. It might be a dog. He does not touch Maya. The soft way he talks to her makes her weep a little. Once, when they were teenagers, he kissed her in the dining room. They were there to clean up after the Hanukkah party. It was empty. Marc, her boyfriend back then, had gone back to his room already. Does Kobi remember? It seems inconceivable that he has children, slow Kobi Benjamin. He dives in and hauls up the cement block and carries it to the side of the pool. She paddles after him, and he cuts the rope with his pocket knife, setting her free. Her attempt was one of a rash of suicides, Vivian says out loud. She has just heard the story of Maya from Aliza next door. First, there was the boy who jumped from the silo. Then, the girl who set herself on fire outside the dining room. Another boy who killed himself on a moonlit night hunting boar. No one knew if it was an accident or not. And now Maya. Yakov, in the next room, shouts to her over the television news, "That is not a rash. Those suicides had 10 years at least between them." Vivian wonders if Guy Gever will kill himself. He is a good shot. For years, not a night went by that the trucks filled with Gever men and their cronies had not taken off into the valleys, near the ruins around Beit Shean, to shoot the wild birds. And Karen wonders, who am I? She walks, and she wonders about the way she walks. How does her speech come out? How does an organic material, the weird flesh of the eyeball, allow her to see? When did her gait acquire this rhythm? This quality of sound as she pads across the tiled floor of the house that she and Guy have just remodeled? She sits in the garden chair on her and Guy's patio and crosses her legs. The plastic of the chair bites into the back of her thigh. The neighborhood children play on the lawn. Her son is just returning from school. The boy who lives next door stands shyly off to the side of the children on the lawn, not daring to join. Vivian sits on the bench and watches Karen and Karen's friend Sagit, who joins them for a cup of Nescafe. Since the children are bigger now, Karen hasn't much use for her mother. Vivian wishes to be her ally, her confidant, like when Karen was a child and she helped Vivian with her younger siblings. The children beg for kortiv, popsicles. Karen's friend Sagit explains to Karen why she still breastfeeds her 4-year-old and insists on carrying him around in a sling. In Africa, Sagit says, the children's feet don't touch the ground until they are 5 years old. So that's what I did wrong with my children? Karen says. Her lips grip like a vice onto the cigarette in her mouth. She has taken to smoking again. Is that what you mean? Guy returns to the house that night. Karen sees the pickup truck approaching. She stiffens. Their 2 children mill around with their friends, kicking a soccer ball between them. When they see Guy, they brace themselves. Vivian watches and waits. Men have always gone crazy. They are the more fragile sex. Even Yakov had his bad time when he found out about Ziv. Guy is clean and carrying flowers he picked from the neighbor's yard. The neighbor, Mrs. Benjamin, the English woman, comes out shaking an umbrella and shouting in English. This makes them laugh. Mrs. Benjamin did 3 ulpanims and still can't speak Hebrew. The Gevers know no English. Guy gets down on one knee in front of Karen. The two Gever children and neighbor child edge away from him, and Guy turns and shouts, "Lech mipo! Get out of here!" He rips the flowers, pulls the petals off the pretty stems, and tears the bald heads off. He holds the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?